Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. I'm going to be talking all about what makes working with OCD and what makes working with OCD difficult at times in relation to doubting fears. So what can happen is when we are trying to get better, so that people can have an insight a bit into what it's like doing what I do. So in my job, when I'm working with people, so when I first started and I got into working with OCD about 11, 12 years ago now, what happened is, because OCD is the doubting disorder, every single part of the journey we doubt. Now, this is the situation that happens with anyone who's working with people with OCD. So what happens is you'll do this. These were the fears that I had. What if it's not OCD? What if I'm the exception and can never get better? What if I'm stuck like this forever? What if my brain's broken in a slightly different way to other people's? Like your brain's not broken, but we convince ourselves that it is kind of broken. Okay. Then what if what I'm learning doesn't work? What if Albert Ellis has got it wrong? What if I can't distance myself ever with the thoughts or understand and embody acceptance? What if the laws of science don't apply because of a fear in relation to existential, so therefore none of anything that I'm learning will go in? Okay, so there's that kind of stuff, or will make sense in the sort of realm of science. Because, like, take for example with Albert Ellis, what you're doing is you're learning to see things rationally. So you're learning to see things realistically how they are. This isn't trying to out-logic OCD. That's a real common misconception, where what happens is people think that with OCD, that if you when, say, you've got a fear of getting HIV and you do this, but I couldn't have HIV because I didn't even do anything, and I'm sure I didn't, and let me recall that. That's trying to run away from the fear instead of moving towards, well, even if I had HIV, I could stand it. It wouldn't be as scary as I imagine. All these reasons, ... Now, that's the difference there, okay? That's one of the first things. But there's tons of these hurdles, and we've built a whole section on the YouTube channel called Hurdles in the OCD Recovery Journey. So if you go on there, you can see all about that, all about the hurdles in OCD recovery. One of the biggest hurdles, and this is what I wanted to show, and this is the point of today's Instagram Live, is I wanted to show what it's like doing my job, so that you can see what it's like on the other side. So with acceptance is agreement. Let's imagine I'm working with someone and I'm teaching them, okay, so because we're learning skills for anxiety and learning about rational thinking and philosophy and so on. So you'll say, okay, so say you had made a mistake, say you had made an error. You're a fallible human who's got value for being alive and human. That doesn't detract from your value of being alive. You make errors because you're a fallible human. But we have this black and white thinking, which is, if I've made an error, I'm no good. I should be written off forever and ever and ever. And that's what gets us stuck in that loop that OCD likes, where you're sort of locked on. You can't, like, oh, I don't even deserve to breathe. I don't even deserve to be happy. That cycle. Now, what happens there is when I come in and introduce the concept of acceptance of, you're a human that's got value for being alive and human. That wouldn't detract from that. You will make errors. You are fallible. These things will happen. People will say, yeah, but that means that I'm saying it's okay to do that. No, acceptance isn't agreement. There's a great video on our YouTube channel about that. And so then what happens is they'll often say, no, but I don't want to accept that. Like, that means I'm more likely to do it. No, that doesn't mean you're more likely to do it. That's the same as I don't want to have cancer. I could get cancer, and if I had cancer, I would have to make peace with that. But that doesn't mean I'm more likely to get it. So people think that acceptance is like dropping your guard and like going to jump off a cliff. That's not what it is. That's the difference between acceptance isn't agreement, and there's a great video by Kirsty on our YouTube channel covering just that. So that's one of the areas. Now, the other areas is this. Okay, so someone started having coaching with me for OCD, and we're going through things. And then there's obviously the fear of fear. What if I never get better? What if I can't understand the books? What if I can't take the books in? That was one that I used to have trouble with in school when my OCD was in the past when I was younger. What if I can't take in what I'm learning from these books and I fail all my exams, then trying really hard to take that material in and then it pulling back away from me all the time? So I felt like I can't even remember taking in any of this page. This page hasn't gone in, and trying harder and harder and getting more and more frustrated. And particularly in exams, it was a nightmare because I didn't really understand I had OCD and didn't understand any of sort of its internal workings. So I was really sort of quite stuck there. So that's another thing. Then the other things that happen is, so it's all this panicking sort of sensation. So it goes like this. Okay, so I'm learning about acceptance, and that's not agreement. Okay, but I've been told that I should just leave thoughts there. Yes, we have to leave thoughts there. Humans walk down the street, they have all different kinds of thoughts. They're not trying to interact and deflect thoughts. They're not doing that. But what is a misconception is that, with OCD, that's all that's needed. Just leaving thoughts there, changing our relationship with thoughts, not fighting them, and then we will recover. And that isn't the case, because if the fear is too high, hence why we have exposures, which are just basically, even the term exposures, people think, I've got to do this all perfectly, I've got to get this all done correctly. But actually, all an exposure is facing a fear. So you're just facing a fear and then not doing all the compulsions. That's what it is, okay? But there's more to it than that, because you can do loads of exposures and you can still be very scared. So you have to pick away at those irrational beliefs bit by bit, not compulsively, not trying to dispute all your irrational beliefs and fight them off and doing that all day, just in little bits of time, 15, 20 minutes, say every few days, or depending on your own situation, it varies, but that kind of the direction to move in. And if you look on our YouTube channel, there's all information all about lots of videos covering how to dispute beliefs, how to not be compulsive in that. And that's key. Those were the fundamental keys of what Albert Ellis taught, and is just a philosophical approach to breaking down what we're scared of, so that we see it's not as scary as we think it is. So for me, for example, if I was just leaving the thought there of fear of getting HIV, that would give me a sort of layer of, it'd make me be at peace to a certain level. It would, let me just get this right, because it's a bit complicated to understand. If I just left thoughts there with the fear of HIV, and I understood I had OCD, that will possibly help bring it down 20 to 30%. But as in my case and most cases of OCD, what happens is the person is still too scared. So they need to bring it down with both exposures and changing their relationship with the HIV fear. So let me show you what recovery feels like internally in me. Okay, a fear of getting HIV. I can distance myself from that thought. That thought doesn't latch, only because I'm not terrified of getting HIV. So I don't have to go through all the thoughts, like, okay, well, am I not scared of that? Am I not scared of that? Because I can create that distance between the thinking. But to do that, I had to bring that fear down, because it was so high. I was convinced that every time I was having sex, I'd contracted HIV and was getting a death sentence. So I had to understand a bit about risks, HIV, and coming to terms with that. So with me, I can see, okay, I can still live a long life. I can still do everything I want to do. I'm not scared of death anymore. So all of those things makes it a lot lighter. So then it creates the separation over time. So I don't need to go into those thoughts if they come up. I don't get intrusive thoughts repeating like a machine gun. That doesn't happen. The reason that doesn't happen is because my brain knows I'm not scared of those thoughts, and the content of the thoughts is irrelevant to me now. But before, I had like a thought latched on where I was convinced I'd hurt someone 15 years ago, and it would not release. It was like, that's unforgivable. That's so bad. And the chronic guilt and the chronic anxiety persisted in the background. It kept ticking away all the time in the background. So that's what we're picking away in layers. So I can see I'm a fallible human being. I could have made mistakes in the past. I could hurt somebody. That is possible as a human being. We are able to do that. I really wouldn't like that. That's what my harm OCD was related to, not wanting to cause any harm. I really wouldn't like that. But if it did, I could still be at peace with myself as a fallible human being, and then I could rationally break down the acts so it doesn't have that grip. Now, this is a process of learning, and what people do is along the recovery journey, we're very scared of being stuck forever. So we dart left and right. But I thought I was supposed to leave just thoughts there and not look at the content. Oh my God, is rational thinking sort of like logical thinking? Oh my God, am I working on it too much? Oh my God, am I working on it too little? Oh my God, I'm in a mess and I don't know where I'm going. So that's happening in the journey. That's gonna happen, okay? Those things are what I thought. 1 minute feeling like, oh my God, I've recovered already. This wasn't even that hard, to, oh my God, I'm back at square one. And I've done lots of posts and videos about why square one doesn't exist that you can watch on the YouTube channel. And so that was what was happening all the time. So people get very caught up in that, the fear of fear. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Like, say you said to someone with OCD, you said, okay, too much reading is bad for OCD. They'd be like, right, I'm never reading a book again. That's how scared people are of fear. That's how easy it is to trigger an OCD sufferer. It's called the doubting disorder. They will doubt anything, and in 1 second they'll be like, oh my God, I don't want to even think that or look at that. That's what happened to me with Albert Ellis. Oh my God, what if he's got it wrong? Oh my God, I need to know that he's 100% got it right. Oh my God, what if Greek and Roman philosophy is wrong? I know it's been around thousands of years and it stood the test of time, but what if it's all wrong? What if all humans have got it wrong? Or what if I live in a solipsism world and I'm the only person and everyone's a robot? Oh my God, I can't stand that. I need an answer now. So that's what's going to happen. So we need to slow that down to that 1 day at a time approach. We need to cut down that inner work rate, which is going at 1,000 miles an hour in our head, where we're like treading water in a swimming pool at that speed, trying to like keep everything going. We need to calm that down, right? So this is all the process that we're working on in all different areas, what we cover in the coaching, looking at cutting the inner work rate down, changing our perception on beliefs, because it's difficult to do on our own, all these things, because there's quite a lot of different tools that you're learning to utilize. And we cover as much as we can on the YouTube channels and the Facebook group, but that's what we do in the coaching. So to look at from my situation is, so then I'm teaching that. So people are learning the steps towards recovery. And what you'll find is that anything we can doubt, we will doubt. Okay? And in 1 second, we're utterly convinced of it. In 1 second. So I would go along my journey and think, oh, I've got a lot better with sitting with the discomfort. I've got a lot better sitting, just observing my thoughts. And then something would happen in reality that wasn't along that path. So I think, I'm pretty good. I think I'm pretty robust with this recovery. And then bang, something would happen that would be like, I don't know, I got an illness or something happened with my family or something. And those were real events. And see, the problem is if you don't teach people tools to deal with life, unconditional self-life and other acceptance, and they're just leave thoughts there, when a real event happens, they've got no tools. That's why I've done so much awareness during my career all about that, because what happens is if an OCD sufferer's only learnt that, and then they go out and say they lose their job, break up with a long-term partner, whatever, they don't have any tools to deal with. And then they start really panicking because they're like, this is real and I can't calm myself down. So by deeply changing your philosophies to become more rational, that work better for you and help you move towards your goals better, then they've got the tools and a robust internal framework to prevent that chronic anxiety and chronic guilt cycle latched on. So that's the nature of what I'm doing, is working towards demonstrating and showing why rationally thinking through things, learning to embody acceptance, learning to change our relationship with thoughts and have a better understanding of OCD and how it operates is what leads to OCD recovery. But we will doubt every aspect of that, particularly when it's difficult. Unconditional self-acceptance does exactly what it says on the tin. Unconditional. Now, that would mean even if you hurt someone quite badly, or even if you even if you acted in any way, because it's unconditional. So anything you could have done, you would still accept the human. That doesn't mean we agree, remember, with the act, the behavior, but we can accept the human being as having value for being alive and human, and we don't write off humans. So people and society have strong irrational beliefs. Oh, that guy's done that, he should get death penalty, kill him straight away. Well, OCD, if you've got that kind of belief, it's going to really go for that. It's going to really, really go for that. Let me get a drink here, 1 second. It's going to really go for that because it knows that you've got a condition on your self-acceptance, and that condition is what it's going for with like a homing missile, 100 miles an hour for that thing. Now, the reason that that's so important to be aware of is that you're learning to adapt to be more rational. If you are like getting carried away with sort of strong extreme culture, both sort of politically, ethically, social rights, whatever, if you're getting carried away with that kind of stuff in relation to like a criminal should get the death penalty or something for a certain act, OCD is really going for that. You've got to start working on compassion. You've got to start working on accepting other humans and being at peace with humans and seeing they can make behavioural errors that we disagree with. And that's so key for harm OCD. And that's why so much of a lot of the work I do where people are scared of going to prison and harm is around watching documentaries of criminals and so on and seeing, can you have compassion? Can you see how they got to that situation through their childhood, their genes, and just starting to see how they came to that decision that led to them ending up in jail. So that's really important because that helps break down that chronic guilt and chronic anxiety cycle. So there's lots of aspects like this that you're working on bit by bit. It's not easy. It's difficult. Most humans do not have unconditional self-acceptance. Society is very irrational. So because of those things, the world around you is going to be like, no, they're terrible, they should get death penalty. But my mum says they should get death penalty. Now you're saying they shouldn't. And then you're saying that also you can accept someone unconditionally. But does that mean then, even if I sat in a tree and did nothing, I could accept myself? Surely that would make me a loser. So, all of those strong, irrational beliefs, like why does a human have to do something? Human doesn't have to do. That doesn't mean by learning that we're going to stop doing. It means we're going to accept and be at peace with ourselves even if we didn't do, and then strive towards goals. But people in society are so conditioned to be like, no, I need to achieve this. I need to be better than this person. Oh, if I lose my job, then I'm written off. I'm a failure, da-da-da-da-da. And all of these parts and elements nicely construct the framework that OCD thrives on, okay? Now, with OCD and anxiety disorders and all basic emotional discomfort, it all comes from this situation where most people, that includes everyone, therapists, mums, dads, politicians, everyone, they tend to usually be quite irrational in lots of areas strongly if they haven't targeted that thinking. They may get really angry at something all the time that's consuming them. They may be so strong view about something politically that it's sort of like it's really sort of causing them emotional disturbance. You can spot it in people. If there's strong emotional disturbance, there is usually a must. This must not happen. I must have this. They must not have that. And these kinds of thinking which are fueling that emotional discomfort. So we want to look at that and pinpoint that. And that's what the books on the reading list, the first one by the founder of REBT into CBT, Albert Ellis, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable, and The Myth of Self-Esteem are so great at, because they pave the way to this more rational, more realistic way of living, so that we're less likely to disturb ourselves chronically. Now, let me have a look if there was any questions here. Give me 2 seconds just to go through these. OCD can hit anyone at any age. In relation to that question about age, you can get OCD. Like OCD probably started for me at around 6 or 7, but it wasn't in a chronic format till 17. And then like bang, in one day, it was like chronic. But the year or two building up to 17, 15, 16, 17, my thinking was very rigid. I was having more problems with anxiety, but nothing like that chronic format that kicked off at 17 that then just suddenly was like all-consuming 24 hours a day. Fear of treatment-resistant OCD. We've got some videos on this and articles on this. Treatment-resistant OCD, I've never seen a case. Now, let's just define what treatment-resistant means. That means that somebody has gone to get better many, many times in all over the world, for example, and they haven't got relief, okay? Now, the only reason that they haven't got relief is because there's a belief there of fear. They're still scared of something. I see those people regularly come to me. People come in, and this is all going to be in my book that I'm writing. People come in, they'll come from South America, or China, Japan, wherever, anywhere in the world. I've worked with most countries in the world, and they'll come in, they'll say, look, I've been to countless specialists, I've even had deep brain stimulation, and I'm still terrified of being gay, for example. Once they no longer fear being gay, they recover bit by bit with all the other things, the other fears it morphs to. But they're utterly convinced they're treatment resistant. Everyone convinces themselves treatment resistant. I was convinced I was treatment resistant because how it's measured is saying, okay, have you been to 2 or 3 therapists? Have you taken medication? Right, by that time, if none of that's worked, treatment resistant. That is not treatment resistant. If you can identify that the person is very scared of something, there is clearly a catalyst that is fueling the cycle. And we can do that just by asking a human being, which is what everything my work is all about, is teaching each other to be more rational and help each other and spread sort of ideas that are helpful for humans of rational thinking, which is just part of human life. Then we can learn to be less scared and help our families be less scared, because our families, even without disorders, are going to have emotional discomfort because they're human. So that's what we need to look at, okay? So treatment resistant, there is always it. So people come in all the time. Rob, I'm treatment resistant. Email about 4 pages. This is all about my life with OCD. Within about 15 minutes of speaking to them, you can clearly see straight away that they're scared. But they haven't learned how to not be scared, and the people that have worked with them have only been able to get them so far at that point because they haven't found a way to help them be less scared, which is what all the work that I do is about, really getting into those niggly irrational beliefs and getting under them so we're stopping that chronic fear cycle. Let's have a look here. Yes, Nick has done some good videos on acceptances and agreement, as well as Kirsty, so check those out. You are going to feel like you've almost got the gist of it, and then it's like being pulled away from you. So like 1 minute you think, I've completely got this. I've got this. I'm never going to be stuck again. I'm completely sorted, right? And then the next minute you're going to think, oh my God, like I'm back at square one. I haven't learned anything. I was kidding myself. That's what it does, okay? It was a bit like when I used to go to the gym and I was training a lot. I was training 6 times a week for 4 or 5 years, barely ever missed a workout, and the gym was my whole life when I was younger. And I used to go there, and when I first started, I hadn't got much experience in the gym, and I would lift a lot of weights, and then I would realise, what I'd been learning, for example, wasn't so helpful because I was doing maybe way too many reps, or I was eating badly and didn't know exactly what I was eating, and so on. And then you learn bit by bit along the way. Nobody goes to the gym, even if they've got the best personal trainer in the world, and then gets everything, understands everything perfectly, and it all goes out. It's all learning and adjusting to your body. So you're learning, my body works well with this. I haven't got a rotator cuff injury. My core's reasonably strong. I've got a problem with my glutes. I've got an imbalance there. They're all different things and elements that you've got that go on, and you adjust. And that's the same in your work over time. Like I look back at posts that I made in 6-7 years ago, and I think, yes, although the core principles are all still there, I think, I could have worded that a bit better, I could have changed that. And that was the same when in the past, I used to write for Men's Health magazine, Men's Fitness magazine, and when I used to own a gym, and I look back at old articles and think, I've sort of changed my stance on what I think about that particular thing I was talking about in relation to weight training or protein intake or whatever, and then things change. So your journey's going to be like that. It's going to be, as you're going along, it's going to adjust bit by bit by bit, and you're going to learn and see new things. You're going to say, hey, I feel better if I'm waking up, going for a run, and then doing a bit of looking at my irrational beliefs later on in the day, not fighting it, to try not to fight too much, probably not Googling too much or whatever. We're not talking about Googling, but I mean working on OCD, on things that you're learning. The problem is what tends to happen is everyone wants a fixed answer, like they want a blueprint to OCD recovery. So like, this needs to work. You've got to adjust bit by bit. Like some months I'd be like kind of coasting, the word that I sort of coined to explain where you're feeling not great, but you haven't got the energy to sort of progress further. So lots of times I had to really work at it. I had to think, right, I've got to do my reading. Maybe I need to read that book again. Maybe I need to do more exposures. Maybe I need to dispute these irrational beliefs more and look at them from lots of angles. Because otherwise I wasn't doing that, and then the shifts didn't happen. Or other times I was overdoing it, trying to like force it away. So it's like a balance of putting your foot on and off the gas pedal and getting that correct balance. And it's easy to like be like, oh my God, I've been doing it wrong because I did this. Oh my God, because that's what we do. We're like jolting between this black and white thinking very fast. Okay, let's have a look here. Just going through these questions. Give me 1 second. What is OCD? I'm not going to answer a sort of a broad question like that. I've covered that quite a lot of times, but I just want to highlight something. With OCD, it's best to keep it very simplistic. So view it as I'm scared of something, a fear cycle, and it's just a bit more scared or just a bit more activated than it would be in someone without OCD. Yes, there's most likely a genetic component. Leave it at that. You don't need, when you start, even the term OCD, I'm not the biggest fan of, because it sort of conjures up this concept of this like locked in like mental state that you can't escape from, that you've been diagnosed with and that you're locked in forever. And I think it's better to sort of look at it as just general fear that's just a bit more activated. And I often find that more helpful. Often we sort of use a lot of language that makes us more scared, especially with all the themes, which are just basically names for thoughts. We just make ourselves more and more scared about different things. Let's have a look at the next question. YouTube channel is OCD Recovery. If you just go on YouTube, type in OCD Recovery, you'll see our channel at the top. Right, let's have a look for more questions. I think the main thing is, with your OCD journey and you're reading and you're learning things, you want to take in different information, you want to listen to it, you want to have a think about it and how it works in relation to yourself. Everything that I do is based on, one, we're trying to provide the most free content we can in relation to all different countries around the world, so that people in India, Philippines, China, Japan, where they've barely got any OCD information at all, can get access to information. Hence why we're currently translating all our channel, all different videos on our channels, into other languages, so that people have got access to that. At the moment we're doing Hindi and Urdu, which are going to be released very shortly, and so that gives people free access to that, because as well as our coaching, we've got the YouTube channel, the Facebook group, which is one of the largest OCD recovery groups. So you've got all that information. You can ask us any questions in there, you can ask me anything. One of the main things that we do with this community that we've built in terms of an OCD recovery community is, what we're trying to do is make it so that everyone can share information. Oh, I've learned this. How did that help you? And then they can freely discuss all that between each other to help each other learn the steps towards recovery, which is key. Because along my own journey, I'd often go to a new specialist or someone and there'd be no feedback. Like, they'd tell me something, I wouldn't even know if it worked. So by having that community, you can ask any part of the journey and say, okay, Rob told me this. Do you think that works? Rob told me that. I don't think that works. And we can discuss all those parts. Or I've read this book. I don't think this works. I think I've read that book. I find this very helpful. I've been on a course and I've learned this, and so on. And then it's all of that kind of stuff. Let me just get a drink. 1 second. So yeah, it's all that kind of stuff that you are basically, what you're doing is you're helping yourself to rationally see what works and what doesn't work. Because that's how we learn things. We look at things and we think, does that make sense? Does that produce the result that I want? Is that working for other people? And so on. And that's how we go through that. Right. Let's have a look here. In relation to that question about limerence, if you go on our YouTube channel, we've done a section that talks all about limerence because it often relates in relation to ROCD, and that's the fear, oh my God, with limerence. So we've done some videos specifically focusing on limerence. Just looking through these questions. Give me 1 sec. Give me 1 second. I'm just going through all the questions on here. Yeah, so we're going to have, in relation to our YouTube channel, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have a YouTube channel specifically for each country. And so you'll have that translated, all the most popular videos on the YouTube channel, into your language. And then we will also have, most likely, other Facebook groups that are targeted on the particular languages, so that you can go in then and learn different things about what you're learning from the YouTube channel, as well as go into the main OCD recovery group if you want to speak in English. But if you want to do it in your language, then you can just join that specific group. But the YouTube videos have all been professionally translated. We used a recording studio that was a really specialist studio that have made them all, and we're doing lots and lots of videos. So I think it's going to be a bit of a game changer for the OCD community, because it's going to be the first time that, say, for example, in China, you're going to be able to see information for OCD that follows the whole recovery process, no matter how stuck you are, no matter how long you've been stuck, no matter how bad the physical symptoms, all that stuff, all the kind of stuff you see on this page and what I've been working with all this time, in a lot more detail, covering those aspects. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so just to finish up on all of that stuff, what you want to be thinking about on this journey, because I've been covering it a lot on the in the last couple of videos I've done in the last few days, is you want to be specifically looking at hope, why you can recover. You want to be looking at persistence and the work and putting that into practice, so that forms the journey for recovery. Yes, you can recover. Yes, there is no such thing as treatment-resistant OCD. Yes, with persistence and practice, you can recover. It's harder than you would like it to be. It's going to take work. It's going to take persistence. You've got loads of other people out there that are going through the same as you. Thanks to the internet, we've got a way of networking with each other, which we've tried to put together in the groups. You can ask us anything on these Instagram lives, and you can ask us anything in the Facebook group. You've got the reading list that's on our website of all the books that we recommend, but you can read any books on OCD you want and see which works best for you. You've got all those aspects. Now it's a case of going in each day, taking it one day at a time, not trying to get rid of OCD instantly today, but thinking, I'm going to learn. I'm going to use this, having OCD, as an opportunity for me to adapt and empower my life that I wouldn't have necessarily seen had I not had OCD, because by digging this deep, I've had to learn and study more than I would have had I not. And that way you then have gratitude and you find meaning from what you're doing. And that then directs you in the right direction. Okay? So I think that's key. I think that's a really important thing to think about, because I got lost, especially in the years where I was thinking, oh my God, if only I hadn't had OCD, if only I hadn't OCD, then my life would be going in different directions and so on. And I was thinking that all the time. And then I read Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning book, which really helped me harness the meaning from the suffering. And that then pushed me forward. And that was really important because it changed my perspective drastically of that situation, so that I could see that this had given me that situation, that thing, to then turn my life and use it to harness that, to become the thing that pushed me towards the goals I wanted. So, for example, if I hadn't had OCD, I would have never learnt as much about myself. So I would have lived a very much more surface level life. I wouldn't have that depth of experience, of just the human experience, that I was a lot more shallow until I experienced that suffering. And that helped with connection and everything. And then it made me hugely appreciate the now, and it made me hugely appreciate compassionate to other people and seeing the struggles they've got. So it was that whole combination of that, as well as making me motivated and focused on the things I wanted to do, like, for example, spending time with family, traveling, passion in my work, all these different elements. So those came together through the struggle. Guys, great to see you all on here, and I will be back on very soon doing another Instagram Live. Take it easy, guys. See you later.